10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Warning: the material discussed in this show may be sensitive or a trigger for some listeners. Strong language and topics are discussed. We talk with active duty service members and practice OPSEC at all times. You have been warned.
The Bipolar DM, Jason Cottam. His show talks about Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with a mental illness, in particular bipolar disorder, borderline disorder, and major depression, among other diagnoses. Check us out right here on Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, also on WLFE-DB.com, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. So take a seat, sit back, and get ready for the Bipolar DM.
Welcome to the Bipolar DM show. I am your host, Jason, and this is a show about Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with a mental illness, in particular bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, and major depression, among other diagnoses. If you want to reach us, you can email me at thebipolardm@gmail.com or visit my webpage, www.thebipolardm.com. There you'll find links to my live show as well as to my blog and my podcast, which I do still occasionally do, and other information and resources on indie writing, Dungeons and Dragons, and mental health. Also, hold on, sorry. Forgot my notes. There we go. Also, be sure to check us out. We are on Twitch TV. If you see us on twitch.tv/The Bipolar DM. We're also on YouTube and Facebook Live. And we want to also announce that we are supporters of Safe Space. For those of you who are not familiar with Safe Space, that is a program or a kind of a movement to where we provide a virtual safe space for people of various backgrounds to feel safe and be able to express themselves. And as well, we have lots of resources available for those of you that would be in the LGBTQ community or any other community, whether it's veterans or gamer or whatnot. resources if you are in crisis. And if you go to WLFE-DB.com, our radio station, there you'll find the Safe Space logo. Click on that, and that'll get you some resources and some connections if you are going through a hard time right now. We also support, of course, the 20 Stop Soldier Suicide and the 22 a day. So if you're not familiar with what 22 a day means, by the end of the day, sorry. Excuse me. By the end of the day, 22 veterans will commit suicide. Sorry, having a little bit of problems here right now. But hey, I'm a survivor. Had tried to take my own life several years ago, but I survived. And if you are going through a crisis right now, we got some resources for you, some people you can reach out to, people who are trained. And, going to the crisis line, pressing 1 is one way to get there. There's also a text line as well. Let me see if I can pull up the text line. There we go. Veterans text crisis text line is also available. If you're more of a texter than a talker, or you're someplace where you can't talk or not able to, yes, be sure to check that out. Reach out for help. And if you're on the other end of the line and somebody's reaching out to you, you do not have to have the answers. You don't have to have any great sayings or anything like that. All you need to do is listen. Suicide is a cry for help. And too often we don't take that cry seriously. So whether it's out of fear or if it's a taboo subject, whatnot, the stigma needs to end, and we need to educate others about mental health and the reality of what happens when somebody's at the end of their rope and they have no other way to turn. Now, today's show, we were going to try and have a guest come on, but unfortunately was not able to get that to happen with holidays and everything like that, and everybody, trying to get back into the swing of things. And by the way, I did have a great holiday. Got to spend some time with my kids. Got to run a Dungeons and Dragons one-shot for veterans and active duty who are alone on Christmas. Had one particular Marine out in Japan come on with us, and we had a great game that spilled over time, and ended up we had to pick it up later that week, and it was great. Taking on Santa Claus and the Frosty the Snowman and other Christmas references, and everybody had a great time, and it was all in support of Dungeons and Dog Tags, which is one of the missions I have going on through the Bipolar DM show. It's my mission with Dungeons and Dog Tags is to bring Dungeons and Dragons to our veterans and active duty personnel, both here stateside and around the world where we are serving. And phase 1 is by doing that through online gaming. And that's what we got going on right now with Dungeons and Dog Tags, is that we have an online gaming community where we provide dungeon masters for our veterans to play online, through Discord, through virtual tabletops such as Foundry or Fantasy Grounds or Roll20, and to provide a gaming experience and community amongst the players. And that's the goal of Dungeons and Dog Tags, is to provide support to our warfighters through gaming and support that community. Now, right now, we are focused on veterans and active duty. Eventually, especially once we get into phase 2, which is to provide in-person games, we will start incorporating dependents as well, particularly the military brats. I'm a Navy brat, and it'd be great, especially overseas and other places where we're living with our dependent active duty service member, usually normally a parent, and but to provide a game for them, some Dungeons and Dragons would be a great way to bring something from home to them when they are overseas, such as we did 2 tours of duty in Atsugi, Japan, and 1 tour of duty in Rota, Spain. Some great countries that I've got to live in. And how I grew up was very unique versus the majority of the population out there. I went to over 14 different schools growing up, which is kind of low for some military brats. I know a Air Force brat who did 34 schools before graduating. And my number is my best guess, best remembering. There might be, a few weeks here, a few weeks there, where I'm popping into a school real briefly when we were like PCSing or something like that. That might have been not counted, but yeah, I went to 14 schools before I graduated from high school in Camp Zama, Japan, and my life as a military brat, growing up on military bases, seeing the world, especially the Cold War, from a different lens than the civilian population, was very unique, and also made it very hard for me to transition into civilian life after the military. And that led to a lot of problems. And a lot of these guys coming back from overseas or serving stateside away from family and all that, it's hard coming back sometimes. What we want to do, though, with Dungeons and Dog Tags is to provide, some community amongst us, especially when we are back home again and we're separated. We call it being separated from the military, but we really are separated from that community and from that life unless you live on or near a military base, and you miss it. It's a community, it's a culture unto itself. We have our own history, we have our own language, we have our own traditions. If you were to sit into a veterans game, and especially when we get going, especially ripping on each other in the different branches, it would floor you the way we talk to each other and talk amongst ourselves when it's just us. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted Dungeons and Dog Tags to reach out to veterans, is because I missed that, and missed the banter, and missed the camaraderie that we have, a brotherhood and sisterhood that we share through shared suffering in the military. And that's one of the aims of Dungeons and Dragons, is to provide a platform for that to grow. And right now we're on Discord. We have a Discord channel. And if you want more information, just contact me at thebipolardm.com, and we will get you plugged into the Discord channel. That's where we got our schedule. That's where we have our chat boards, our live rooms, where if you want to go in and chat live, you can. But also we have our chat boards, and we have our games there too. And we use that as our platform for the community. and it's open to all veterans and active duty, whatever branch of service that you're in, including Coast Guard, of course. We don't want to forget about our brothers and sisters, the Puddle Pirates, and we actually do have some foreign service members in too, from Canada and United Kingdom, in the British military. We have a couple players there too that are either recently separated or still on active duty, serving over there. And so, big shout out to our brothers and sisters, our cousins across the pond, and also those serving around the world on the other side of the globe too. This is a worldwide broadcast, so I'd like to shout out to all of them too. If you want to get in on playing some Dungeons and Dragons, it doesn't matter your experience level. We are all of us that here that run games, us dungeon masters, are experienced in bringing in new players. Jump on in, and it's thebipolardm.com is our webpage. That's where I got a link to Dungeons and Dog Tags for more information. And then also, if you can contact me at thebipolardm at gmail.com. That way, I can get you plugged into getting started in a game. Or if you want to run a game, we are looking for dungeon masters. We do have games going on that need to be run. And so get a hold of me at thebipolardm at gmail.com. And today, some of the things I wanted to kind of talk about, one of the things I kind of alluded to before broadcast was we're going to talk a little bit about some things that you can do with living with bipolar, things that kind of help make your life a little bit easier. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some future projects that I've just got into that I'm very excited about. We'll talk about that on the other half of the bottom of the hour, and let's just go ahead and jump in on talking about living with bipolar disorder. For those of you who are not familiar with what bipolar is, it's a mood disorder that literally affects the physical part of the brain that controls emotion. And so our moods, depending on what type bipolar we are, can range from extreme psychotic manic, where we're basically like drinking a case of Red Bull and taking 5 hits of meth, high and delusional, to suicidal lows. Sometimes in the course of a day, it can happen. And with my type of bipolar, which is bipolar 2, the majority of the time I'm depressed. And it's probably one of the worst ways to live as in a depressed state. So my worst episode of major depression lasted over 3 to 3.5 years before that lifted, of just severe depression. And so if you are living with bipolar, one of the keys to living with it is having a routine and to having goals to reach for each day, because our moods are so fluctuating. It's hard to go with the flow a lot of times, such as getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, washing your face, combing your hair, taking a shower, taking your meds. We got to have a routine in order to establish that no matter what our mood set is that morning when we wake up, we do those things. And one of the first things you can do to improve your life with bipolar is get up at the same time every morning and make it consistent, no matter what you're feeling. For me, I'm an early riser. I got kids that still need to go to school. And so what I do is when I get up, I don't go back to bed. And so I'm up at about 6:30 in the morning. I wake up that time anyways. It's just kind of programmed into me from the military of waking up at 6:30 every single morning, and then getting ready, going on duty by 0700, and how we ran in the ER. But Yes, getting up, having that consistency is very important, um, and one of and making a routine out of it is important too, because routine is and rituals. I hate to propose that, but routine and ritual is a very good tool to help us get through the day. And another suggestion is wake up gently. Waking up to somebody throwing a garbage can down the bay and screaming at you to get the off the bunk. That's a harsh way to wake up in the morning. That's one of the reasons why I wake up when I do every single morning, is because of that. Is beating the alarm clock by a few minutes. But wake up gently. One of the cool little things I have on my iPhone is the wake minder, which actually it starts off buzzing. The phone would start to buzz, and then very quietly, and then with rising volume, has like birds chirping and some nature sounds, and it's designed to wake you up gently and not all of a sudden start from alarm clock. But uh, but wake up gently and also have a good attitude about waking up too. I mean, if it takes you 5 or 10 minutes to get your ass out of bed, don't beat yourself up. But if you're having problems taking your meds and all that, there's a lot of things that we can do, but the first thing you got to do is decide to take your meds, and you're doing your morning routine. And that leads into the next thing that helps out a lot with living with bipolar is medication, taking meds on time, and not only on time, but the right route and the right dose. I played pharmacology roulette before, and it's not good to do that, especially with a mood disorder. Bumping and changing your medication dosage or the times that you take it or anything like that without talking to your doc first, because there's a lot of things that go into the chemistry and biology of pharmacology and the way our bodies are, especially as individuals, that makes playing with medication very risky. And of course, never mix medication with alcohol, especially psychiatric medication, because it will throw you through so many loops that it's not even funny. So take your meds, take them on time, right route, right dose, right time. Next thing is to learn to talk it out. We internalize so much with bipolar and also with borderline personality disorder and other mental illnesses that without talking it out with somebody else and having somebody to talk to through our issues, our thought processes become very corrupt and very worst case scenario, very much going, the worst possible scenario and living it out in our heads. And so being able to get out of one's own head and have somebody to talk to is very important, whether that's through professional help with a psychologist or psychiatrist. A psychiatrist deals in the medication side with some therapy or more therapy, kind of depends on the doc. A psychologist is strictly therapy only, and they'll often work with your doctor, with your psychiatrist on medication recommendations and dosing. But talk it out, talk out your problems. Don't let them fester inside. And the next thing that helps too is learning your triggers. What sets you off, whether it's loud noises, whether it's crowds, whether it's isolation, or the way somebody might cut an attitude with you. Know what sets you off, and will set off an episode is very important, because that way you learn how to prepare yourself to divert yourself from a trigger. If something is setting you off, learning simple techniques such as breathing techniques and focusing and meditation and stuff like that, um, help a lot in dealing with a trigger. And so learning about your triggers helps you learn how to diffuse your triggers and to get over certain things that in reality probably are not a really big deal, not life altering, but in our own heads, we make things so big and so enormous that they are literally life altering. So learn your triggers. Build a support system is another way. Um, Having friends, whether it's, for a lot of us that have a mental illness, it's very hard to make friends, especially when you don't have a community to make friends within. We isolate ourselves a lot and live alone or live in a very small, tight knit community of family and some close friends if we have any. And so it's very difficult for us to make friends. But what's awesome about the internet is that there's always somebody up worldwide and a lot of somebodies and people that we're willing to talk and to make friends with. And so while it's not as great as and ideal as having a physical friend present, making friends on the internet is just as important, just as valuable and helpful as having somebody there that you can actually look across the table at and see. So build your support system. Be careful who you let in also with your support system, because you're going to be likely sharing some very intimate details about your life and your illness with some people, and you want to be sure to include somebody who you can trust, who you know will be there for you and support you even when you're going through a rough spot. And it doesn't have to be very large, and it doesn't all have to be somebody you can bare your soul to. You can also have support systems in the outlying circles of places to go, and some casual friends you can meet and distract yourselves with. Have a bigger plan when it comes to your support system. Another thing is controlling your weight is very important. A lot of these medications that we're on promote weight gain, and controlling your weight and also in the larger sense, exercising and diet is very important to, as best we can, eat healthy and well proportioned, with proportioned meals and with some exercise and stuff like that. But watch your weight. Significant weight changes is very telltale of a pending crisis, especially with depression. Whether that's a significant bump in your weight of 10 or more pounds, or a weight loss, like what's usually happens to me is I don't eat. I probably have had today, by this time, I have not eaten. No, I have not eaten yet today, I don't think. And, but I'll be sure to get something in. But, controlling your weight and knowing that as a sign of your health too, especially if you're obese or overweight, you want to be very careful when you have, your secondary or your other illnesses such as diabetes and high blood pressure and heart disease and stuff like that. So control your weight. Talk to your doctor about the side effects of medication, especially if you're experiencing them. First you want to talk about possible side effects so that if they do happen, it's not something else, such as with a lot of psychiatric medication, you have problems with your bowels and stuff like that, loose stools, and so knowing, hey, I'm going on this medication, this could happen, is better, helps you understand what's going on with your body than worrying about, did I get food poisoning or something like that, or have a worse condition like irritable bowel syndrome or something like that. So also, don't be afraid to talk about the sexual side effects of medication. That is a reality of psychiatric medication. is either delay in gratification or no orgasm whatsoever to not even being able to perform, whether it's erectile dysfunction or something else. So if you are having issues with sexual side effects of the medication, talk to your doc about it. Maybe they can bump your dose down a little bit to where you do get a libido back. Or they may suggest something else like a Viagra or other ED medication to help with you being able to perform again. And so don't be ashamed, and don't be afraid to talk to your doc about that stuff. And be mindful about your body is also very important when we're talking about side effects, because when you come in to see your doc, be armed, be ready, be knowledgeable, know what you want to talk about and bring up, and know also signs and symptoms, because a lot of times they'll provide an opportunity for you to say, have you noticed any changes in your weight? If you haven't been watching the scale, you probably say, no, I don't think so, or I might have gained a couple pounds. But if you gain 15 pounds in a month, you might want to talk to your doc about it and say, hey, doc, maybe we need to look at our medication choices or dosing so that I don't gain up so much weight. Or we might look at a diet and exercise routine. And with side effects, avoid alcohol, and I expand that to also recreational drugs as well. Marijuana, you want to talk to your doc about the possible interactions that marijuana can have with medication. Personally, myself, I have not experienced any, but that's not the same for everybody. And so if you are looking at medical marijuana, talk to your doc about possible side effects or drug interactions with certain medications. Avoid alcohol, because alcohol is a depressant for most of the population. And mixing that with depression and medication is a bad cocktail, a cocktail that often leads to suicide. Most of the time, when the person's not even showing signs or symptoms of being suicidal or having suicide ideations, drinking can lead to that. Drugs, especially those that alter your perception of reality, is very dangerous, especially if you have a psychiatric condition that can be triggered by it. So be very careful about what you take into your body. In general, and that would include your diet and vitamins and supplements and stuff like that, because in this day and age, it's very easy with the internet to go overboard with any routine. And so a life of balance is very important. And part of that balance is also being active. Having an active life, and that means getting out of the house, kind of active, doing something outside in the population, whether it's out in the woods, hiking, or bicycling, or something. Get out there and do something with that takes you out of the four walls that surround you. That is very important to do, being active, and most importantly, don't give up. Don't ever give up. Even in the worst depths of my depression, I never gave up, except for the one incidents when I did try to take my own life, and I did give up. But don't ever give up. Even if you cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel, or if the light at the end of the tunnel is a freight train heading your way, don't ever give up. Things will get better. They do. Things do get better. Depression has an ebb and flow. It will lift at some point. It may take weeks. It take months. It may even take years. But there is an end to it, and that there is light. And so don't ever give up on yourself. And even when everybody else does, even when your conditioned, whatever your diagnosis is, makes you such a hateful bastard that nobody wants to be around you or be your friend. Don't give up, and don't give up on yourself. Always keep working on yourself for you, so that you will be a better person and you are not ruled by your diagnosis. And we'll go ahead and let's go to commercial real quick, and then on the other half of the hour, we'll talk a little bit about some things that I got going on. And here we go.
Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam! There you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com.
And welcome back to the Bipolar DM show. I am your host, Jason. And in the previous half of the show, we talked about living with bipolar and some tips and tricks to deal with that and to set up your life. And this half of the show, we're going to talk a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons in this half of the hour. Particularly about what I got going on just recently, and also Dungeons and Dog Tags, an update what's going on there, Bipolar Dragons. Also, our comments are open. I'm going to be monitoring that now. So if you have a question or anything like that you want to shoot my way, you can. Or if you just want to say hi, be sure to comment below. I know we pick them up on Facebook and YouTube. Twitch, I'm not too sure about yet if there's comments available there, but we pick up most of the comments that are put out there. And so with Bipolar Dragons, we are back in the studio after Christmas break. Kind of had a hiccup last week. We were supposed to start up, but half the cast didn't show. And so hopefully we'll be back to full cast this tomorrow on Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. for Bipolar Dragons, where a group of us geeks get together and play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a very colorful cast, different players and different backgrounds, and we just have a lot of fun playing through Curse of Strahd and wrecking the world that was set up so vividly by Wizards of the Coast. And so already Valikia is burning as we speak, as our heroes are returning back from going on a revenge quest against Baba Lysaga and her magical tree hut, which they properly burned to the ground. And now they are now facing what new hell has broken out in Valiki since they have been gone. A little small town, think of like Transylvania under the watchful eye of the vampire, and in that world, and that's what Curse of Strahd is. It's a classic vampire tale, and so that's what we're playing through on Bipolar Dragons. And Bipolar are the Dungeons and Dog Tags. We're doing very well right now. We have picked up several new DMs to start games up, so we are now running games 6 days a week now. Some of the games are monthly, some of them are bi-weekly, but we have several weekly games going on. Some talented DMs have stepped up to help us out and provide more games, because I'm running 4 games right now myself. I was supposed to have a game start today, and I overslept. I hadn't slept in several days, and then it just caught up with me. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up an hour after the game is supposed to have started. So now I got to make some apologies and fix that. But yeah, with the Bipolar Dragons, we are on Discord. We chose that as our platform to work from because for one thing, it's low bandwidth, so you can use it even while you're on your phone. And we do have several players who run Discord off of their phone and play Dungeons and Dragons that way. And also, it provided chat rooms that we can build ourselves, and also voice and video rooms as well, so that we're able to do live games online. And it gives us a chance to build up a community too, with the various chat rooms that we have set up for the players just to intermingle. And we've had some great discussions. We have some great topics. We do have a mental health and wellness room as well that's monitored, and there, if you're having any kind of crisis or troubles or anything like that, or you just need somebody to talk to, there's always somebody there watching out at that room, the chat, that if you need to reach out. So I encourage other places that are on Discord to provide similar safe spaces for their players to reach out if they're in need. And we're glad to be doing that and providing that for our players at Dungeons and Dog Tags. So right now we're still in phase 1, which is the online gaming, and it's going very well. Phase 2, which we're hoping to implement this summer, is actually having an in-person game on a military base. For me, that base that I chose is Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. It's about 2.5 hours away from where I live. And I can provide a monthly game there on post through hopefully MWR, which is the Moral Welfare and Recreation. Basically the YMCA of the military is what it is, or the Army. And through them, hopefully being able to have a place to set up a game, and then through the base, different outlets advertise that game base-wide for the soldiers that are there. And to hopefully have a monthly game go on with some soldiers serving at Fort Wood, where I did actually did my basic training at. So some old stomping grounds for me. It'd be great to be on a military base again, especially one that I'm familiar with, and to interact with some great men and women. So that's what phase 2 is all about. Also part of phase 2 is providing books and materials so that we can set up games at VA facilities, at Army and Navy hospitals, and other places for our veterans and active duty A lot of times it's funny when you're serving, who you run into that also plays Dungeons and Dragons, but you don't have the books available. Back in the day when I was a kid, we had what was called Stars and Stripes, which was the bookstore and newspaper for the military, particularly the Army and Navy, and they've since closed shop decades ago. They no longer have bookstores available, but on the military base, bases through Stars and Stripes. But that was a great bookstore, and I was able to get Dungeons and Dragons material through them. But a lot of places don't provide that, and so or they are, these books are expensive. They're about $50 a pop. So means is also a way. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true then as it is true now. Our soldiers are severely underpaid, especially for what they do for our country and the service they provide. And when you're talking about $150 of books to get started as a DM plus other materials, this can be a very expensive hobby. And so we want to be able to provide books, whether new or gently used, for our military and veterans at these facilities where we can't set up a live in-person game, but perhaps they can. If we can get a local DM to run it. And so that's part of phase 2 as well, is collecting these materials and then also distributing them. And that's still in the planning phase as far as especially distributing them, but also the acquiring them as well, whether if we can get corporate sponsors to help pay for the materials, or even if we can get Wizards of the Coast to provide some of these materials, that'd be fantastic. But we got plans for growth and expansion with Dungeons and Dog Tags, and things are looking really good. We had some growing pains, some starts and stops, but right now things are going very steady and growing very well. And we're very excited about the new Dungeon Masters that we've brought on. That's new stories, new worlds to explore. I'm jumping in on a bi-weekly game myself just so I can play every now and again, and that's going to be in a very classic Dungeons and Dragons setting and tale, which is called the Temple of Elemental Evil. For those of you old-timers out there, old school gamers, you will remember that. I think it goes far back as first edition even. If not, I know for sure second edition had it. But this is a 5e version of the Temple of Elemental Evil. On my bucket list of games I'd like to play before I die is that one. And I don't know a lot about it purposefully because I'm hoping to be a player on it and not a dungeon master. So I know a little bit about the game and its history, and I'm very excited to be playing that. I'm going to be playing a lawful good goblin paladin named Poog the Destroyer, who has a addiction to a small poisonous toad that he likes to lick. And he had overdosed on poisonous toads one day and had a vision of the god Helm, a god of justice and lawfulness and everything like that paladins and knights worshipped, and that God changed his alignment from an evil character to a lawful good character, and then charged him as a champion to go on a mighty quest that he's very big about telling people that he's on a quest from the gods, but he's not allowed to tell anybody about it or what exactly it is. And so that is Poog, and he has a dog, a mangy mutt that he rides, that he picked up in one city as his mount, and that is Carlos von Worcestershire is the name of his dog, and his faithful, if yet cowardly mutt that he'll be riding into battle with. And so I'm very excited about getting involved with that game, with that character. It's a very long going character that I've had that I've actually had to nerf down to first level to play in this campaign, but I actually wrote a 50,000 word backstory for this character for National Novel Writing Month one year. And so got a lot of history with this character, and it's going to be very fun to play him and hopefully not die quickly, because that would suck if for canon if Poog the Destroyer dies at first level, especially right out the gate. So very excited to play this and be a player in Dungeons and Dog Tags myself, and to see how the other side looks. With some other things that we're coming up with related to Dungeons and Dog Tags, I've been approached to do a live stream game, which is with veterans. All veteran cast is the idea, and to live stream this game, probably on Twitch, but also on other platforms as well, and possibly also make it into a podcast as well. Very likely to do that. Don't see any reason why not. But it's going to be very interesting. I'm working with an individual right now about this, some ideas about the campaign and stuff like that, and who we would like to get as players. Instead of just getting whoever wants to volunteer, we're probably going to screen our players beforehand to make sure first. That they're not deployable. Or in an MOS or rating that's deployable. Shit happens when you're active duty. You go where the government tells you, but we want to make sure that that's not likely to happen after the first 3 games. If they're with the 82nd Airborne and they're on standby, yeah, guy, I'm sorry, but we got these other games going on. But as far as the live stream goes, we want good personalities, people, who are familiar with the game, but actually don't have to be. I love to take on somebody brand new too, who's interested in role playing and taking on a role within our campaign. And what we're talking about, just to kind of give a little bit of a spoiler, is it's near future. And what has happened is the Mind Flayers, or the Illithid, a being that has tremendous psychic ability, has taken over not only Washington, D.C., but also all the major capitals around the world in the first strike from another dimension. And so it's set with veterans and soldiers in the near future. And then they have to cross over into other realms, into fantasy realms, for weapons, for allies, to fight this invasion upon their own planet. And so that's the general idea of where we're going with on this campaign. So we'll have modern weapons, and we'll have magical weapons and swords and spells, as well as we have crossover between the 2 realms, both our world future wise and that of the fantasy realms. And as far as the fantasy realm, we've been bouncing around a lot of ideas. Of course, Forgotten Realms and the Sword Coast is always an option that we can go with, but we're also thinking about expanding our horizons and talking with some other creators out there who have created some fantastic worlds that we'd like to play through. And so we're going to be reaching out, and that's where we're at right now. We're just reaching out to some developers out there that we know of and had some personal contact with about playing within their realm and broadcasting that with veterans. And that'd be really a fantastic boon right there to be able to do, especially if we score a bigger name in the RPG industry. And we're aiming high when we're doing this too. So don't think that we're getting somebody who's just on put out 1 or 2 adventures on Drive Through RPG or DM's Guild, but no, actually some top names in the industry we're going to reach out to see if we can play within their world and broadcast it with veterans as a veteran cast, and see where we go with it. And this is going to be very exciting what we're doing. And anyways, that's also something else that we're reaching out with Dungeons and Dog Tags with, to do this live broadcast, this live stream game, and we're excited about that. Yeah, it's another game, another campaign I'm taking on, but this one definitely is a labor of love, and I got time for it as well in my schedule, and I can rearrange some things if I need to. But I'm very excited about being asked to do this and to DM a game, and hopefully this will be a good fit for us, that will work together very well. So far, with the early collaboration, we have good chemistry, and we're both on the same page for a lot of things as far as what we want to do with this show. And I'll have links to it once it gets developed and is ready to go. For broadcasts, I'll link that in with the bipolardm.com website, so that you can go there and also find out more, not only about Dungeons and Dog Tags, but also this new show that we're developing, title still being thrown around. And we got some cool titles that we can go with. So very excited about that. And other things that we got going on with this show, it's a new year, and we're in to our second season with the Bipolar DM show. So we're very excited about having gone almost a full year with this and the many broadcasts that we've had done. We're working on setting up some more interviews in the future with various backgrounds. And so, we're screening that too, because we're also very careful about who we bring on. I've gotten some offers from some very questionable belief systems that I just flat out, I don't even want to touch this. I don't want to bring it on the show. I mean, I'm all for lively debate and debating of ideas, but at the same time, I have all of you to look out for too, and I don't want to have the illusion that I endorse or believe in some of the things that these people preach that I bring on the show. And some things we do have from very grave, red line, hard line, no-go zones that we butt heads on, and medication and medication compliance being one of them. Especially when we get somebody who professes they've cured mental illness of some kind without medication or without modern psychiatry. Now, my opinions of modern psychiatry and psychology, and as an industry in the United States, is not very high. And I still think of it more of a soft science of anything else. But we're learning more and more about not only the human brain and its makeup and chemistry, but also of various mental illnesses, especially as we become more educated and destigmatize the mental health and depression and other disorders and illnesses. And that's one of the number one goals that we have with this show and with everything that I do, is education and destigmatizing mental health. Because believe it or not, a large proportion of the population here in the United States has some kind of mental health crisis or issue within their lifetime, whether it's an eating disorder, whether it's depression or OCD, or any of the major bigger illnesses like bipolar, borderline, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, things like that really can ruin a person's life, ruin their family, ruin their career. We want people to be able to feel comfortable and safe to come out and talk about these things, and to share their stories, so that others may be less afraid to get help, and to also very strongly encourage all of you to stick with the routine and regimen. And whatever you decide to do as far as medication, whether you're going to go all holistic or alternative medicine, or if you're going to go using medication as a tool, not a silver bullet for your mental health, but one tool among many. And, I support all decisions in all pathways, but don't force your beliefs onto anybody else as the only way or the best way to go, because everybody's different. Some people's react very well to alternative medicines, whether it's cannabis or other things, and others have found great relief through meditation. And so, there's various ways and a lot of tools out there for mental health and wellness. And that's a discussion for another day as we conclude this episode of the Bipolar DM show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to watch previous episodes, go to thebipolardm.com. There we have links to YouTube where we have our previous episodes. You can watch us live on twitch.tv/thebipolardm. And there's also links to Bipolar Dragons and Dungeons and Dog Tags and resources too are available. Thank you again. I am Jason, your host. And remember, everybody, to take your meds.
Thank you for listening to the Bipolar DM. They love sharing thoughts and ideas. See you next week, 7 p.m. Saturdays on WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows, and that makes for great talk radio. WLFE Digital Broadcast Network is on TV. You can watch all of our shows on WLFE-DB.com. Check out our channels: Paranormal View for all of your paranormal type shows, LGBTQ Friends for all of our LGBTQ shows, Variety Unlimited for all other shows. It runs 24/7 right on WLFE-DB.com. You'll even catch the lives, all in one place. Never miss an episode, past or future. WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.